In geography, the antipode of any place on Earth is the point on the Earth's surface that is diametrically opposite to it. A pair of antipodes are two points that are antipodal, æn ænտɪpədəl, to each other and are connected by a straight line running through the center of the Earth. In the Northern Hemisphere, the antipodes may be used to refer to Australia and New Zealand, and Antipodeans to their inhabitants. Geographically, the Antipodes of Britain and Ireland are in the Pacific Ocean, south of New Zealand. This gave rise to the name of the Antipodes Islands of New Zealand, which are close to the antipode of London at about 50 degrees south, 179 degrees east, -50, 179. The antipodes of Australia are in the North Atlantic Ocean, while parts of Spain, Portugal, and Morocco are antipodal to New Zealand. Approximately 15% of land territory is antipodal to other land, representing approximately 4.4% of the Earth's surface. The largest antipodal land masses of the Malay Archipelago are antipodal to the Amazon basin and adjoining Andean ranges, East China and Mongolia, antipodal to Chile and Argentina and Greenland and the Canadian Arctic Archipelago, antipodal to East Antarctica. Geography. The antipode of any place on the Earth is the place that is diametrically opposite it. So a line drawn from the one to the other passes through the center of the Earth and forms a true diameter. For example, the antipodes of New Zealand's lower North Island lie in Spain. Most of the Earth's land surfaces have ocean at their antipodes, this being a consequence of most land being in the land hemisphere. The singular antipode is a back formation from the plural antipodes, which in Greek is the plural of the singular antipos. The antipode of any place on Earth is distant from it by 180 degrees of longitude and as many degrees to the north of the equator as the original is to the south. In other words, the latitudes are numerically equal, but one is north and the other south. The maps shown here are based on this relationship. They show a Lambert-Hasser-Martel equal area projection of the Earth, in yellow, overlaid on which is another map, in blue, shifted horizontally by 180 degrees of longitude and inverted about the equator with respect to latitude. Noon at one place is midnight at the other, and, with the exception of the tropics, the longest day at one point corresponds to the shortest day at the other, and midwinter at one point coincides with midsummer at the other. Sunrise and sunset do not quite oppose each other at antipodes due to refraction of sunlight. Mathematical description. If the geographic coordinates of a point on the Earth's surface are, then the coordinates of the antipodal point are. This relation holds true whether the Earth is approximated as a perfect sphere or as a reference ellipsoid. In terms of the usual way these geographic coordinates are given, this transformation can be expressed symbolically as x degree n s y degree e, w x degree s n degree with e, that is, for the latitude the magnitude of the angle remains the same but n is changed to s and vice versa, and for the longitude the angle is replaced by its supplementary angle while e is exchanged for w. For example, the antipode of the point in China at 37 degrees north 119 degrees east is the point in Argentina at 37 degrees south 61 degrees west. Etymology. The word antipodes comes from the Greek nu tau iota pi omicron delta epsilon sigma, plural of antipos with feet opposite, from anti opposed and pou foot. The Greek word is attested in Plato's dialogue Timaeus, already referring to a spherical Earth, explaining the relativity of the terms above and below. For if there were any solid body in equipoise at the center of the universe, there would be nothing to draw it to this extreme rather than to that, for they are all perfectly similar, and if a person were to go round the world in a circle, he would often, when standing at the antipodes of his former position, speak of the same point as above and below, for, as I was saying just now, to speak of the whole which is in the form of a globe as having one part above and another below is not like a sensible man. The term is taken up by Aristotle, Strabo, Plutarch and Diogenes Laertius, and was adopted into Latin as antipodes. The Latin word changed its sense from the original under the feet, opposite side, to those with the feet opposite, i.e.A. Bahuvihi, referring to hypothetical people living on the opposite side of the earth. Medieval illustrations imagined them in some way inverted, with the feet growing out of the heads, pointing upward. In this sense, antipodes first entered English in 1398 in a translation of the 13th century De Proprietatibus Rerum by Bartholomeus Anglicus, translated by John of Trevisa. Yond in Ethiopia bend the antipodes, men that have their fate, einst our fate. Historical significance. Pomponius Mela, the first Roman geographer, asserted that the earth had two habitable zones, a north and south one, but that it would be impossible to get into contact with each other because of the unbearable heat at the equator. For the time of St. Augustine, the Christian Church was skeptical of the notion. Augustine asserted that it is too absurd to say that some men might have set sail from this side and, traversing the immense expanse of ocean, have propagated there a race of human beings descended from that one first man. In the early Middle Ages, Isidore of Seville's widely read encyclopedia presented the term antipodes as referring to antipodans, as well as to a geographical place. These people came to play a role in medieval discussions about the shape of the earth. In 748, in reply to a letter from St. Boniface, Pope Zachary declared the belief that beneath the earth there was another world and other men, another sun and moon, to be heretical. In his letter, Boniface had apparently maintained that Virgilius of Salzburg held such a belief, the antipodes being an attribute of a spherical earth. Some ancient authors used the perceived absurdity as an argument for a flat earth. However, knowledge of the spherical earth was widespread during the Middle Ages, only occasionally disputed. The medieval disputes surrounding the antipodes mainly concerned the question whether people could live on the opposite side of the earth. Since the torrid climb was considered impassable, it would have been impossible to evangelize them. This posed the problem that Christ told the apostles to evangelize all mankind, with regard to the unreachable antipodes. This would have been impossible. Christ would either have appeared a second time in the antipodes, or left them damned irredeemable. Such an argument was forwarded by the Spanish theologian Alonso Tostado as late as the 15th century, and St. Augustine doubts was a response to Columbus's proposal to sail westwards to the Indies. The author of the Norwegian book Konungsskuggsjæ, from around 1250, discusses the existence of antipodes. He notes that they will see the sun in the north in the middle of the day, and that they will have opposite seasons of the people living in the Northern Hemisphere. The earliest surviving account by a European who had visited the Southern Hemisphere is that of Marco Polo. He noted that it was impossible to see the star Polaris from there. The idea of dry land in the southern climes, the Terra Australis, was introduced by Ptolemy and appears on European maps as an imaginary continent from the 15th century. In spite of having been discovered relatively late by European explorers, Australia was inhabited very early in human history. The ancestors of the indigenous Australians reached it at least 50,000 years ago. Air traveled between antipodes. There are no non-stop scheduled flights between any two antipodal locations by commercial commercial airline service, or anything even close. The longest non-stop scheduled flight was the discontinued Singapore Airlines Flight 21 between Newark, New Jersey and Singapore, covering 15,343 kilometers in about 18.5 hours flight time, and this was far from a journey between nearly antipodal locations. In addition, there is currently no commercial aircraft capable of traveling between antipodes at full load non-stop, while a flight between antipodal locations by non-supersonic travel might present difficulties for passengers. Airlines assign relief crew members to assume the primary pilot positions for designated portions of long-haul flights, allowing those pilots to rest asleep. A hypothetically perfect antipode flight would be Tangier Ibn Battuta Airport, Morocco to Whangarei Aerodrome, New Zealand, whose designated locators are 10,799 nautical miles apart, 1 nautical mile short of the maximum of 10,800 nautical miles. But their actual runways cross in projection. However, with only 3,599 feet length, Whangarei's runway is too short to accommodate any current commercial jet airliner, especially one with the required range. Taipei and Asuncion are 19,912 kilometers apart, Santiago and Xi'an are 19,897 kilometers apart, Madrid and Auckland are 19,590 kilometers apart, Buenos Aires and Beijing are 19,260 kilometers apart, Johannesburg and Honolulu are 19,188 kilometers apart, New York City and Perth are 18,700 kilometers apart. List of antipodes. Earth. Around 71% of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans, and 7/8 of the Earth's land is confined to the land hemisphere, so the majority of locations on land do not have land-based antipodes. The two largest human-inhabited antipodal areas are located in East Asia and South America. The Australian mainland is the largest land mass with its antipodes entirely in ocean, although some locations of mainland Australia and Tasmania are close to being antipodes of islands in the North Atlantic Ocean. The largest land mass with antipodes entirely on land is the island of Borneo, whose antipodes are in the Amazon rainforest. Cities exact or almost exact antipodes: Christchurch, Corunna, Hamilton, Cordoba, Hong Kong, Loquiaca, Liaoning, Jenin, Madrid, Weber, Mongafai, Rock of Gibraltar, Masterton, Segovia, Nelson, Mogadero, Padang, Esmeraldas, Palembang, Neva, Pekanbaru, Machachi, Tauranga, Jaakuten, Ulan Uda, Puerto Natales, Wellington, Alarejos, Whangarei, Tangier, Wuhai, Valdivia, Wuhu, Rafaela, to within 100 kilometers, with at least one major city: Auckland, Seville and Malaga, Beijing, Bahia Blanca, Nanjing, Rosario, Shanghai, Salto, Taipei, Asuncion, Tianjin, Bahia Blanca, Xin, Santiago, or more precisely Rancagua or San Bernardo. Taiwan is partly antipodal to the province of Formosa in Argentina. Other major cities are capitals close to being antipodes: Rio de Janeiro, Tokyo, the host cities of successive Summer Olympic Games, 1,450 kilometers, Beijing, Buenos Aires. Both cities have populations in the millions, and have been twinned since 1983, 540 kilometers, Shanghai, Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is actually closer to the antipode of Shanghai than to the antipode of Beijing. Tongshan, Licantain, Bogota, Jakarta, 200 kilometers. Guayaquil, Medan, 220 kilometers. Phnom Penh, Lima, 220 kilometers. Dili, Paramaribo, 310 kilometers. Irkutsk, Punta Arenas, Suva, Timbuktu, Melbourne and Canberra, Azores, Atlantic Ocean, Cherbourg, Antipodes Islands, Pago Pago, Zinda, Barranquilla, Christmas Island, Doha, Pitcairn Island, Hue Acute and Da Nang, Arequipa, Manila, Cuiaba, Kuala Lumpur, Cuenca, San Juan, Karratha, Limerick, Campbell Islands, Arrecife, Lanzarote, Norfolk Island, Sharm el-Sheikh, Rapariti, Bangkok, Lima, Quito, Singapore, Perth, Hamilton, Montevideo, Guangzhou. Cities and geographic features. Gibraltar is approximately antipodal to Terai Beach, about 85 kilometers north of Auckland, New Zealand. This illustrates the old yet correct saying that the sun never sets on the British Empire. The sun still does not set on the Commonwealth of Nations, the northern part of New Caledonia, an overseas territory of France, is antipodal to some thinly populated desert in Mauritania, a part of the former French West Africa. Portions of Suriname, a former Dutch colony, are antipodal to Sulawesi, an Indonesian island spelled Celebes when it was part of the Netherlands East Indies. Luzon Island in the Philippines is antipodal to eastern Bolivia. As with the British Empire, the sun set neither on the French Empire, the Dutch Empire, nor the Spanish Empire at the peaks. Santa Vitória de Palma, the most southerly town of more than 10,000 people in Brazil, is antipodal to Jeju Island, the southernmost territory of South Korea. The big island of Hawaii is antipodal to the Okavango Delta in Botswana, with the island's largest city, Hilo, antipodal to ænʻtɪpədəl National Park. Easter Island is antipodal to Desert National Park, 35 kilometers from Jaisalmer, India. Desolate Kerguelen Island is antipodal to an area of thinly inhabited plains on the border between the Canadian provinces of Alberta and Saskatchewan and the U.S. state of Montana. The Heard Island and McDonald Islands, an uninhabited Australian territory, is antipodal to an area in central Saskatchewan, including the towns of Leask and Shelbrick. St. Paul Island and Amsterdam Island are antipodal to thinly populated parts of the eastern part of the U.S. state of Colorado. South Georgia Island is antipodal to the northernmost part of Sakhalin Island. Lake Baikal is partially antipodal to the Straits of Magellan. The Russian Antarctic research base Bellingshausen Station is antipodal to a land location in Russian Siberia. Rottnest Island, off the coast of Western Australia, is approximately antipodal to Bermuda. Flores Island, the westernmost island of the Azores, is nearly antipodal to Flinders Island between Tasmania and the Australian mainland. Point Nemo, the point in the South Pacific Ocean most distant from any other land, is precisely opposite a desolate piece of desert in western Kazakhstan. By definition, the North Pole and the South Pole are antipodes, as can be seen on the purple-blue map. The Pacific Ocean is so large that it stretches halfway around the world. Parts of the Pacific off the coast of Peru are antipodal to parts of the same ocean off the coast of Southeast Asia. Countries. The following countries are opposite more than one other country. Countries matching up with just one other country are Morocco, Spain, Chad, Libya, Cameroon, Egypt, Eritrea, Ethiopia, Senegal, the UAE, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, Guinea, India, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, and Thailand, Singapore, Brunei, Palau, Micronesia, Venezuela and Suriname. Of these, the larger countries which are entirely antipodal to land of the Philippines, Malaysia, Taiwan, Fiji, Vanuatu, Brunei, and Samoa. Chile was as well prior to its expansion into the Atacama with the War of the Pacific. Other bodies: Calorus Basin, weird terrain, Mare Oriental, Mare Marginis, Mare Imbrium, Mare Ingenii, Argia Planitia, Utopia Planitia. In popular culture, literature, New Zealand writer Mark Price undertook a tour in 2005-06 of the length of New Zealand and its land Antipodes in Morocco and Spain, from Kerry 35.21756 degrees south 173.962944 degrees east minus 35.21756 173.962944 to Cathedral Square, Christchurch, 43.53167 degrees south 172.635778 degrees east minus 43.53167 172.635778. Television. On the popular TV show Angel, the deeper well is a hole that goes through the world, with its entrance in the Cotswolds in England and its antipode in New Zealand. The May 19, 2008 official Lost Audio podcast gave credence to a theory that the island is located at Tunisia's antipode, in the South Pacific east of New Zealand. The Gathering, a fourth series episode of Torchwood, refers to Shanghai and Buenos Aires as being antipodes of each other. The 10th and final episode notes more precisely that they are perfect antipodes, while acknowledging that is only accurate give or take 100 miles or so. At the closing ceremonies of the Rio 2016 Olympics, they used the Antipodes as a tool to invite you to the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. There was an image of the video game character Mario using his famous pipes to travel between Tokyo and Rio, arriving at the closing ceremonies. Webcasts. In 2006, Ze Frank challenged viewers of his daily webcast The Show with Ze Frank to create an Earth sandwich by simultaneously placing two pieces of bread at antipodal points on the Earth's surface. The challenge was successfully completed by viewers in Spain and New Zealand.